President of Lebanon, and I had a great talk with both of them today. They're going to be having a ceasefire, and that'll include Hezbollah. And I think it could be number 10 for me.
Mr. President, do you have any news regarding peace in Ukraine? Do you have any news regarding peace in Ukraine?
Ukraine is moving along. I wish they could get along, frankly. A lot of people are dying in Ukraine. We'll see what happens. There's things happening there. We're focused so much right now in Iran, seeing if we can get that completed. And I think we're going to. And I think if you look, the stock market is good. The oil prices are coming down, and it's looking very good that we're going to make a deal with Iran. And it's going to be a good deal. It's going to be a deal with no nuclear weapons.
When is the next in-person round of negotiations on the war in Iran? When will
They're
that
all
take place?
important. I mean, it's not a question of around. All of them are important.
When will the next in-person
Probably,
meeting take
maybe
place?
over the weekend.
Will you send the Vice President? Mr. President, will you send the Vice
Just so you
President?
understand, the blockade has been incredible. It's held. They're not doing any business. They're unable to do any business because of the blockade. And so the combination of having no Navy, having no Air Force, having no anti-aircraft equipment, they have nothing. Everything is gone, including their leaders. Now they have a new set of leaders, and we find them very reasonable.
And Mr. President, on the 20-year minimum to stop enriching uranium, would you?
Well,
would
we
that be
haven't agreed to
acceptable
any.
you?
We haven't
Would that be
agreed to any.
acceptable to you, sir, if that's the final sticking point?
What we have is we have a statement, very powerful statement, that they will not have beyond 20 years, that they will not have nuclear weapons. That's beyond. There's no 20-year limit.
Anyone interested? Can you please give us more information on it? They'll go against the weaponization.
I think that Todd Blanche is doing a very good job, from what I'm seeing. All I can say thus far, I think Todd Blanche is doing a very good job.
If there's no deal, would you be willing to extend the ceasefire, or will the fighting resume, Mr. President?
I would say the fighting. If there's no deal, fighting resume.
Okay. And then on gas prices, how much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas?
Look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon, with the danger that entails. So the gas prices have come down very much over the last 3-4 days. I know, that's what ABC says. But the fact is that if you look at the stock market's up, everything's doing really well. And the big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive. Very complicated subject. It's. I don't think we're waiting. I think we're moving very fast. It could happen pretty quickly. Say it.
How long you could sustain the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz?
The what?
How long you could keep the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz?
We're doing very well with the blockade. It's very routine for us. The Navy is incredible. And I think the blockade is doing very well. It's no ship is even thinking about entering. No ship is going past our Navy.
Why are you fighting with the Pope? And are you worried it's upsetting your...
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
What do you say to people who see that, who see your criticism of the...
Look, nothing, I have no disagreement with the fact the Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree. I think that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they do, the whole world would be at jeopardy. The Middle East will be blown up and the whole world will be at jeopardy. We're very close to making a deal. That'll be a great thing. The Pope has to understand, Iran has killed more than 42,000 people over the last few months. Think of it, protesters without guns, without anything. They were totally unarmed protesters. The Pope has to understand that. This is the real world. It's a nasty world. But as far as the Pope and saying what he wants, he can do that. Now, I know the Pope's brother. He is a big MAGA person. He's got MAGA all over his house. His name is Louis. He's actually a great guy. And I'm sure the Pope is a great guy. I haven't met him. But I disagree with the Pope. If the Pope would allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, you can't do that.
There are people that are saying that the Pope is not.
Anthony Mershak from MTV.
No, not really.
Anthony Mershak from MTV Lebanon.
What?
Anthony Mershak from MTV Lebanon. I would like to ask you regarding congratulations for the 10th war.
Yeah, it's very exciting. With Lebanon, it's very exciting. I think we're going to have a deal. We're going to have a meeting, first time in 44 years. And Lebanon will be meeting with Israel, and they're probably going to do it at the White House.
When do you think, President, when do you think they will?
Over the next week or two.
Or the next week, and do you think this agreement can reach?
I do. I think
without
we're gonna,
Hezbollah
I think
to
we
the
will have an
government?
agreement between Lebanon, and they're going to take care of Hezbollah. But they're going to be working on Hezbollah right now. But we'll have an agreement between Israel, very importantly, and Lebanon.
Will you support our Lebanese army as well in
I
order
would,
to preserve
I would, yeah.
Hezbollah?
Iran's going to execute.
Has Hezbollah agreed to the ceasefire? I mean, how do you even?
They're all agreeing. It's a very nice little package for about a week, and we're not going to have lots of bombs dropping, and we're going to see if we can make peace between Lebanon and Israel.
And this one more on the Pope, Mr. President, because there was a group of bishops that did put out a statement saying the Pope isn't merely exercising his opinion, he's preaching the gospel. I mean, what do you say to people that view this?
Well,
as
I
an
want him
attack
to
on
preach the
Catholic Church?
gospel. I'm all about the gospel, but I also know that you cannot let a certain country, which is a very mean-spirited country, have a nuclear weapon. If they did, they would use it, and I think they'd use it quickly, and they would kill many millions of people. So, you know, the Pope could disagree with me on that, but certainly we're allowed to have that. I'm all about the gospel. I'm about it as much as anybody can be, but I can't allow, as President of the United States of America, I can't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And here's the story. They won't have. They've already agreed not to have. That's good news, and I think the Pope will be very happy.
Iran's going to execute 4 more people, including a woman.
The Federal Reserve should wait and see about this Iran war before lowering interest rates. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree. I think we should have lower interest rates.
Iran's going to execute 4 more protesters, reportedly, including the first woman protester. What do you tell Iran?
Well, tell that to the Pope. What did you say? Tell that to the Pope.
You want to patch things up with the Pope?
That Iran is going to...
Lebanese people love you
Is that?
so.
Did you just hear that? Iran is going to execute 4 people, including a woman?
President Trump, the Lebanese love you so much. Will you visit Lebanon?
Do you extend the ceasefire? What makes you extend that?
I don't know if we're going to have to, but if we need to, I would do that.
President Trump.
Wait, that's important. Sorry.
What are you telling the airlines and the oil companies about the way you're going to open up the trade?
So if you look at the oil and if you look at the price we're paying, it's about half what people thought it would be if you did what I had to do. We had to take this journey to the Middle East in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon. There would have been, if we didn't hit them with the B-2 bombers, or if I didn't kill the Barack Hussein-Obama deal, the nuclear deal, which was a disaster, we would have had nuclear weapons exploding in the Middle East and beyond. I believe I've been able to stop that. I think we have a very successful negotiation going on right now, and I think it'll be, if it happens, it'll be announced fairly soon, and that'll give us free oil, free Hormuz Strait, everything will be nice, and I think your oil price will go down to lower than what it was before, and I think a lot of good things will happen.
Just for clarity, you're willing to extend the ceasefire?
Well, we'll see. I don't know that we'll have
President, the
to.
Lebanese,
Ideally, we'll, but if I needed to, I
the
would.
Lebanese people love you so much. What do you say? The Lebanese people love you so much. What's your message for them? And you will visit Lebanon after this deal?
I will do that. At the right time, I would certainly go there.
You think this war in Ukraine, you know, Putin doesn't want to stop it apparently. He keeps bombing Ukraine. You think this war has the potential to go on for years more?
Well, it should have never started. If I were president, the war in Ukraine never would have started with Russia. But it's going on. Hopefully it'll get over soon.
Have you spoken with
The lady
Putin?
came out last week and said she had no link to Jeffrey Epstein.
Who did?
The First Lady, Melania.
She had none.
Why did she come out and say that last week?
Because the fake news was saying she did, and she had none, and I think that's been proven. It bothered her that the fake news was being fake news. That's all. She just wanted to clarify.
Are you surprised?
Who's taking care of Hezbollah? Do you think that they are destroying the deal that you are trying to make?
We're going to see how it all works out, but they'll be working and coordinating. If you know Lebanon, right? So they'll be working with Hezbollah.
If they fire
Are you
Jay
still
Powell,
interested in acquiring Iranian oil?
What?
Are you still interested in acquiring Iranian oil after?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we have a very good relationship with Iran right now, as hard as it is to believe. And I think it's a combination of about 4 weeks of bombing and a very powerful blockade. The blockade is maybe more powerful than the bombing, if you want to know the truth.
Are you going to make the Arab countries pay a portion of all of the costs?
I think they'll make that. I think they're going to make that contribution. I think the Arab countries, because we've done a lot, I think they'd make a contribution toward the cost. Not been involved.
Iranian assets without any conditions if you make a deal?
We're going to see what happens, but I think we're very close to making a deal with Iran. You'll be the first to know, but I think we have a chance. And if that happens, oil goes way down, prices go way down, inflation goes way down, and you're going to have, much more importantly than even that, you won't have nuclear holocaust.
What talks happening now? What talks happened, Mr. President?
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon. I'm Arlene Richards, in for Don Mobb. We were just watching President Trump as he leaves the White House, speaking to the press on several questions about the Iran war and the deal that's being made. He also talked about the Pope and his disagreement with the Pope, telling the Pope that, or saying that the Pope has to understand that Iran cannot have any nuclear weapons. He also said that if Iran doesn't make a deal, that the war would resume, but he's confident that they will be able to make a deal. He also confirmed that Israel will be meeting with Lebanon as they have a 10-day ceasefire. And joining us now is Gerard Filitti, Middle East Affairs analyst and attorney specializing in international law. Good afternoon, Gerard.
Pleasure to be on.
Now, first off, President Trump says a 10-day ceasefire has been reached between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon, and it will begin at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Your comments on this?
It's not surprising. We've seen this pattern play out before in similar incidents between Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon and Israel, where there is a period of intense fighting that is then followed by a ceasefire. The question is whether the ceasefire will turn into a more meaningful long-term peace, but that would require demilitarizing Hezbollah, and that is a matter that is very difficult to envision in the current situation.
Now, does this have any impact on U.S. negotiations with Iran?
It does in large part because this removes one of the obstacles that Iran was claiming to have in order to engage in meaningful discussions. Iran's position had been that they wanted to see a ceasefire applied to the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah before they entered into more meaningful discussions with the U.S. So that now it no longer has, Iran no longer has the pretext of this conflict with Hezbollah in order to avoid negotiating in good faith with the United States.
Now, I want to play a clip of what Secretary Hegseth said today in a briefing and get your reaction on the other side.
As he continues to implement an ironclad blockade and ensures that our forces are maximally postured to restart combat operations should this new Iranian regime choose poorly and not agree to a deal. And that is what we urge this morning, that this new Iranian regime choose wisely.
Now, Gerard, Hegseth tells Iran to choose wisely. What's your reaction?
Well, he's absolutely right. They need to choose wisely between a path that leads potentially to long-term peace and the end of this armed conflict, or between starting to escalate again and attacking shipping and refusing passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz while maintaining its desire to build a nuclear weapon. So Iran certainly has a choice, and this blockade has been shown to be effective and really a smart strategic move to deprive Iran of the opportunity both to sell its oil internationally and make more money to buy weapons, and to prevent China and other countries from rearming Iran with weapons that have been destroyed.
Now, I want to play another clip of Hegseth this morning. Let's watch.
You like to say publicly, Iran, that you control the Strait of Hormuz, but you don't have a navy or real domain awareness. You can't control anything. To be clear, threatening to shoot missiles and drones at ships, commercial ships that are lawfully transiting international waters, that is not control. That's piracy.
Now, Gerard, do you agree that Iran does not have control of the strait, according to the definition that Secretary Hegseth described? He said piracy.
Well, by Hegseth's definition, what we do see is an act of piracy. This is how Iran has been able to exert power in the past, by threatening peaceful transit by other nations. Ultimately, technical control, Hegseth is right, we have destroyed enough of the Iranian navy and fleet system that they cannot impose meaningful combat operations in the Strait of Hormuz. However, it's not just a matter of control, it's also a matter of influence. And much like in some neighborhoods in our country, we have bad neighborhoods where it's not safe to go at night. That's the type of terror and piracy that Iran is bringing to the table. It may not be able to challenge shipping with conventional naval vessels, but it still has drones, it still has missiles, and it still has the ability to use them. So ultimately, while Iran does not have control of the strait, it can certainly influence what happens and what passes through.
Now, the War Secretary also suggesting today that the U.S. can keep the blockade of Iranian ports as long as it wanted, and it seems to be working. But what would be the impact on Iran if this blockade is sustained in the long term?
Well, in the long term, if this blockade is sustained, we will see Iran not being able to sell a lot of its oil, which it ships around the world, including to China illegally, even though it is sanctioned by the U.S. So there will be a stranglehold on Iran's ability to export goods and oil, especially in order to make money. It will also affect the ability of Iran to import goods, whether it's food supplies or manufactured goods, but especially military arms from countries like communist China. So a sustained blockade of Iranian ports would really be devastating for Iran. The question is whether the United States has the long-term commitment to doing it.
Now, President Trump seems to be confident that a deal will be made with Iran, but is the blockade pushing Iran closer to agreeing to the U.S. terms, which he says no nuclear weapons?
Well, I think the blockade by itself is not sufficient to push Iran to the table. We have to remember that these are not rational actors. Rational actors would never have allowed this situation to escalate in the first place or maintained a desire to build a nuclear bomb. So ultimately, Trump is not dealing with a rational government in Iran. They're dealing with a regime that's committed to maintaining control of its people. And it will tolerate hardships like the loss of exports or imports by a blockade if it needs to in order to stay in power. Ultimately, what will drive Iran to come back to the table is the vast majority of factors, which are all military in base. If the United States maintains its ability and desire to continue putting military pressure on Iran, that is the most likely thing to bring Iran to the table.
Now, we also have Iran warning that Tehran could shut down traffic in the Red Sea and other regional shipping lanes if the U.S. military's blockade of their ports continues. So is this a realistic threat? I mean, does Iran have the ability to do this?
To a large extent, it is a realistic threat. We have to remember that the Red Sea borders Yemen, which is controlled by the Houthi militant group, which is another terrorist proxy of Iran. So the Houthis, Iranian proxy, can certainly use military force against shipping in the Red Sea and make that also difficult and costly to transit. Whether or not the Houthis ultimately will do so is an open question. We have to remember that while they did fire a couple of ballistic missiles at Israel at the beginning of this war with Iran, they have been largely out of it. They have not shown a willingness to engage in the broader regional war. So this is certainly a threat that has been successful in the past because of Iran's support and control of the Houthis, but there's no guarantee that the Houthis would actually fall in line with Iran.
Now, from what we've seen so far, would you say Iran's strategy in this war isn't really to achieve victory on the battlefield, but to make this operation too costly and difficult to sustain for the U.S. And we've seen launching missiles and drone attacks, threatening key shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz, and supporting regional attacks across multiple fronts.
And more than that, also putting economic pressure on the United States and our traditional allies as a leverage point in order to get America to back off from military engagement. Ultimately, Iran cannot prevail in a conventional military war. This is asymmetrical warfare. We are destroying their assets. We are destroying their ability to wage war, but they are waging war in a different way. They're using their terror tactics in order to stranglehold the shipment of oil in the Gulf and engaging in terrorist attacks against allied countries in the Gulf, which are also oil gas exporters. So Iran's strategy so far has been not to meet us conventionally with force on force, but to attack civilian infrastructure, to attack oil production, and to use political and economic leverage to try to get America to stop engaging, while at the same time not agreeing to give up its nuclear program or its missile program.
Well, we're going to see how much they dig their heels in, because President Trump says if they don't make a deal, the war will continue. Thank you so much, Gerard Filitti.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Oil prices moving higher, with U.S. crude around $94 a barrel and Brent just below $100. Prices remain elevated as investors continue to watch potential supply disruptions in the Middle East. Stocks, however, are moving higher on separate optimism over a possible easing of tensions after President Trump said Israel and Lebanon had agreed to a 10-day ceasefire. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ both hit fresh intraday records, while energy stocks rose with crude and airline. Shares face pressure from higher fuel costs. Europe is feeling the effect as traffic through the Strait of Hormuz remains heavily restricted. The head of the International Energy Agency said the continent was facing an energy crisis as a limited number of oil tankers passed through the waterway.
We are in Europe, we have maybe 6 weeks or so jet fuel left. If we are not able to open the Strait of Hormuz, if the refineries as a result of start to work, I can tell you soon we will hear the news that some of the flights from city A to city B might be cancelled as a result of lack of jet fuel.
The Energy Agency's director said some countries will feel the energy pinch more than others. Nations such as Japan, Korea, India, China, Pakistan, and Bangladesh receive a large amount of their oil and gas from the Middle East. Typically, 20% of the world's oil passes through the strait. Meanwhile, Europe was seeing record imports of jet fuel from the United States. The continent depends on the Middle East for nearly 75% of its jet fuel imports. Weaponization of the Justice Department against pro-life activists under the Biden administration. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche delves into a new report on the controversy. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is testifying before House lawmakers today about his department's budget. Heated exchange between the secretary and lawmakers this morning on his vaccine messaging. That and more after the break.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dream. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year, and I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it. I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids. Be strong. Take care of your mom. I love you guys.
Seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you. But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough like these heart valves that help save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with, and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
Introducing the QuestWise Soothing Herbal Eye Patches. It comes with 30 pairs and can be used to help combat tired and strained eyes. The natural herbal formula provides a cooling, minty, and refreshing effect that stimulates natural tears and awakens your tired eyes. Placing the eye patches around your eyes helps to reduce dryness and massages acupuncture points. They can be worn while reading, studying, using electronics, and provide hours of long-lasting relief.
When they learn something new and you can just see in their faces, it's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche delving into a recent report on the weaponization of the Justice Department under the Biden administration. Here he is speaking on NBC News.
This is about the Department of Justice working hand in hand with outside organizations that were, their sole mission was to go after individuals who were pro-life. And the Department of Justice took that information, used it as part of their ongoing investigations and prosecutions. I don't know if we've ever seen that in any context before with the Department of Justice, but certainly not anything that comes to mind for me. That was the most telling thing.
A new report from the DOJ says prosecutors under the previous administration withheld key evidence in cases against pro-life protesters at abortion clinics. The report argues the Biden administration weaponized the FACE Act and enforced the law in a biased manner. The acting attorney general says the Biden DOJ worked very closely with outside organizations to target individuals with different views. He adds that prosecutors in such cases did not make decisions consistent with justice. He says some of them asked for a sentence that is double the time usually asked for in similar types of cases. Blanche notes that some of the prosecutors have since been terminated. He promises that such weaponization will not happen again. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is testifying before the House Ways and Means Committee on his department's budget. Congresswoman Linda Sanchez pressing him on his vaccine messaging.
My question is, did President Trump approve your decision to end CDC's pro-vaccine public messaging campaign?
You've got a lot of misinformation there. First of all,
I'm asking you a question. I
let me
appreciate a
respond to the misstatements that you've made.
No, you have other opportunities. I have limited time.
I only have you're
the
only opportunity I have to.
Did President Trump approve your decision to end CDC's pro-vaccine public messaging?
Allow me to respond to a lot of the misinformation.
No, answer my question, please, sir. I have limited time.
There's a global measles epidemic. We've done better in preventing it than any country in the world.
There is no country that has seen a bigger percentage increase.
That's not true. Mexico has 3 times our measles, and they have 1/8 of our population.
Approve your decision to end the CDC's pro-vaccine public messaging.
Canada has double the measles, and they have 1/8 of our population.
On the other hand, during the Q&A session of the hearing, Congressman Lloyd Smucker applauding Kennedy's efforts to address chronic disease. He says he appreciates how the HHS under Secretary Kennedy has started to prioritize prevention and study the role of diet.
I've been working on and plan to introduce actually this afternoon a bipartisan bill that would test a bundled payment that provides certain chronically ill patients with a comprehensive package, access to healthy produce, nutrition counseling, remote monitoring, with the goal of preventing disease progression and reducing avoidable health care costs. Just like to get your reaction to that and love to have the continued support of the department for a policy like this.
I mean, we have the highest chronic disease burden in the world. The congressman was talking about the deaths from infectious disease, which are a couple of thousand a year. 90% of the people who die, the 3 million people who die in this country, die of chronic disease, and nobody's paying attention to this. And all of these members have ignored this for as long as they've been in office. This is the real threat to American health. In fact, during COVID, we had the highest death rate of any country in the world. And when you ask CDC, why is that true? They say, well, it's because we're the sickest population. The average American who died from COVID had 3.8 chronic disease. Well, what was killing them, COVID or the chronic disease? You have to understand chronic disease, infectious disease has a very hard time killing a healthy person. It kills people with chronic disease.
Other issues discussed during the hearing include Affordable Care Act, broker fraud, new dietary guidelines, ultra-processed food, microplastics, measles outbreaks among children, and reports of potential mismanagement at the FDA. Voters in northern New Jersey are heading to the polls today to choose a new member of Congress in a closely watched special election. Democrat Ana Lilia Mejia is favored over Republican Joe Hathaway. They're vying to fill the seat left vacant by Democrat Mikey Sherrill, who was elected governor last November. Mejia has significantly outraised Hathaway, bringing in over $1 million, more than double his total. The district has leaned Democratic in recent elections. In 2024, Sherrill won re-election by almost 15 points. If Mejia wins today, Republicans' narrow House majority would shrink even further. The race comes amid recent shakeups in Congress, including 2 resignations and a newly sworn-in Republican lawmaker. A federal judge is allowing President Trump to proceed with construction of a bunker at the site of President Trump's White House ballroom project. The same judge halted construction of the $400 million endeavor. Last month, District Judge Richard Leon ruled that the project couldn't proceed without congressional approval. Leon has stayed his latest decision for another week, giving the Trump administration an opportunity to request review by the Supreme Court. The National Trust for Historic Preservation sued to stop the project in December. Leon's ruling comes after an appeals court instructed him to reconsider the possible national security implications of stopping construction. The Trump administration has argued that the project includes critical security features to counter threats, such as drones and ballistic missiles. President Trump has signed a series of pipeline permits. One is for oil transport between the United States and Canada. The White House says 4 permits were issued, including approval for a new pipeline project in North Dakota. Additional permits renewed operating authority for existing cross-border lines. The approvals cover the transport of crude oil and a wide range of petroleum products, including gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. Officials say the move is part of a broader push to expand domestic and cross-border energy infrastructure. This as the administration works to boost production and lower energy costs. The permits also come as the U.S. and Canada continue trade talks, signaling ongoing energy cooperation despite tensions over tariffs. And coming up, China expert Bradley Thayer joins us to discuss potential national security risks after a Chinese satellite company allegedly helped Iran to target American troops in the Middle East.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Looking to refresh the style in your house? Come to Mathis Home during the Spring Style event and see hundreds of options for your perfect living room. Take a look at this sectional. We can help you build it into the style you want. From sleek and modern to something more eclectic to an updated traditional look. You can also reconfigure it just by adding or removing pieces. The sofa version is a great value at just $12.89. Come find the look that's right for you at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Iran has been monitoring U.S. military bases across the Middle East for years using Chinese satellite, according to a new report. That access may have helped Iran carry out attacks on U.S. warplanes in the region last month. The findings come as President Trump says China's Xi would not send Iran additional weapons. NTD's Flora Hua has more.
The Financial Times says it's reporting based on leaked Iranian military documents. It says Tehran's forces purchased a Chinese spy satellite in late 2024 after it was launched into space from China. Iran gained access to satellite imagery, allowing it to monitor key U.S. military bases across the Middle East over the past few years. And the damage may have already been done. 5 U.S. warplanes stationed in a Saudi Arabian base were hit last month. President Trump confirmed the damage. The Financial Times reported Chinese satellite imagery showed activity over the site during that period. A couple more U.S. assets stationed in other Gulf countries were targeted around the same time Iran announced strikes on those assets. Other U.S. assets that have not been attacked by Iran now face greater risks. The report says this Chinese satellite significantly outperformed Iran's most advanced military satellite. It is capable of identifying objects ranging from aircraft to infrastructure. The report notes the satellite was built and launched by a company tied to the Chinese military. This comes after reports circulating that China is secretly preparing additional air defense systems for Iran. President Trump on Fox Business Mornings with Maria said China's Xi got back to him on the matter. Take a listen.
I mean, you're seeing it all over the place to Iran, that China's
Did he
giving
say he's
weapons.
giving them?
Yeah, and I wrote him a letter asking him not to do that. And he wrote me a letter saying that essentially he's not doing that.
We are expected to see a Trump-Xi summit in mid-May in Beijing, where they're likely to cover topics including Taiwan, the Iran war, and trade. Flora Hua, NTD News.
Sensitive U.S. military locations in the Middle East may have been revealed by commercial satellite images before an Iranian attack that injured American troops. This is according to a letter obtained by NTD from House Select Committee on China Chairman John Molinar. Joining us now is Bradley Thayer, founding member of the Committee on Present Danger, China, and co-author of the book Understanding the China Threat. He's also the Director of China Policy at the Center for Security Policy. Good afternoon, Bradley.
Good afternoon.
Now, what is your concern level here? I want to get this from you. Could commercial satellite imagery be exposing sensitive U.S. military positions to adversaries?
Well, it certainly could. The satellite that was referenced in the report
as well as other Iranian satellites, would be conducting missions to collect intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance of U.S. bases in the region and allied bases as well. So it's alarming, of course, that they have that capability. And certainly those capabilities inform their ability to hit U.S. and allied bases accurately during this conflict. In addition, the other aid that Communist China has provided to Iran is equally alarming. There have been reports, as you noted, that advanced surface-to-air missiles that are man-portable, so-called man-pads, were provided by Communist China to Iran. And there were additional reports that said that China has provided ballistic missile fuel and oxidizer for Iranian. The Communist China provided fuel and oxidizers for Iran's liquid fuel ballistic missiles to attack the U.S. Military and allies in the region. So it's quite alarming.
Now, going back to this letter from Molinar, it was a Chinese firm that published detailed satellite images showing U.S. bases, aircraft types, and locations. So is it likely this was the actions of an individual company, or do you think there was a connection to the Chinese state?
Well, it had to be the state. It had to be that this was approved by the Communist Chinese government to aid Iran, as the other forms of assistance that Communist China has provided Iran were certainly done with the approval of the Chinese Communist Party and the state apparatus.
So what vulnerabilities in U.S. national security does this situation expose when it comes to China?
Well, it shows, of course, that Communist China aids U.S. enemies, that Communist China itself is an enemy, and that it aids U.S. enemies, Iran in this instance, who are using those capabilities to kill or wound or thwart the activities of course, U.S. service members in the region. So that compels, to my mind, a response that President Trump must give to President Xi. You referenced, of course, that he wrote the letter that was revealed yesterday to President Xi, and that President Xi has responded. I would expect that President Trump will follow up on this issue when they meet, when Xi Jinping and President Donald Trump meet in mid-May of next month.
Now, do you think that companies like this should cooperate in limiting access to commercial satellite imagery during wartime? I mean, are they obligated to do that?
Well, indeed they should, the commercial satellite networks. And I think we've had cooperation from many based in the United States and elsewhere. But of course, Communist China is opposed to is an enemy of the United States. So they're using, again, with a cutout, saying that it may be the firm which is providing this. But in reality, that just doesn't hold water, given the nature of the Chinese Communist state. So we should expect, again, there has been cooperation. China will thwart that when the U.S. military is involved because of the opposition between Communist China and the United States. It should stop, and President Trump has to raise this issue with Xi Jinping when they meet next month.
Now, with issues like this and in the world in general that we live in now, it seems to be getting harder for the U.S. to keep military operations secret. So what can we do about it?
Well, it's very difficult given the ubiquity now of these satellite companies, but also drones, which are privately owned and which can be flown over U.S. bases, for example, which has been noted. That drones have flown over a Barksdale Air Force Base, for example. It becomes very difficult to prevent these types of activities. The U.S. military is adapting to them. The U.S. Navy, Air Force, Army, Marines, and the Space Force, of course, are adapting to deal with these new technologies in warfare. But we have to do, the best tool that we have is to hold Communist China accountable when they share this type of information with Iran or other adversaries.
Now, in a similar letter last year, Molinar warned that Airbuses work with Chinese firms linked to military development could risk advancing Beijing's aerospace capability. So talk to us about what these Airbuses are and what are their ties to China.
Well, there are, of course, a variety of aircraft platforms that the Chinese have bought and that they've employed. And so what we need to do in that instance is to call attention to these firms. And if they're not going to change their ways, there have to be penalties for those firms. If they choose to trade with Communist China, there's going to have to be a cost associated with that firm. The U.S. is the largest market, whether that's in the military realm or civilian aerospace, and denying access, for example, if it comes to it, if they will not attenuate or end their trade with Communist China, it's very important for the United States to use the tools at its disposal, the market tools at its disposal, to change the behavior of these firms.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how President Trump addresses this with President Xi when he visited China. Thank you so much, Bradley Thayer.
My pleasure.
The Artemis II astronauts are discussing their landmark lunar mission. Let's take a look.
The most remarkable experiences that you all had that just couldn't be fully properly conveyed through pictures and video. And that's for any of you.
I can start. I was going to answer Kristen's question a little bit too, and I think these tie together. I've been trying to find words for it, and I don't really have it yet, but we just saw so many amazing things. And people ask what's the most amazing one, and it's, you can't pick one. There's just so many amazing experiences we had. But overall, where I keep coming back to is what kept grabbing my attention when the lighting was right and we were looking out the window is that I kept seeing this like depth to, I guess, the galaxy, you know, for what we were visually observing out there, this depth to the galaxy that I just had never experienced before. And it's not that I could tell which stars were really closer and further, because it has to do with how bright they are, but because of how bright they are and their differences, they look like you can tell where they are in 3D. That was mind-blowing for me. And then you see the same thing with the moon and the Earth. You're viewing them from this new perspective, but this perspective with like three-dimensional depth. And I mean, I've heard Christina talk about this a lot. We're all kind of struck by these things that make us feel small. And that the sense I had was this sense of fragility and feeling small, infinitesimally small. But yet, this very powerful feeling as a human being, like as a group. And that is what, to me, is what I would try to share. I saw it in all these sites over and over again. I kept seeing that same thing and that same feeling. Small and powerless, but yet powerful together.
Beautiful.
Okay, we'll head over to our phone bridge. Our next question is from Nell Greenfield with NPR.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Tell me about your sleep. Have you been having any dreams of the moon? And if so, what have the dreams been like?
Take this one. I've got a couple things I can say on that. One, been sleeping great since we got back. We are tired, so I think our bodies were ready to accept any time zone of sleep that we offered it. And what I've noticed, which is completely different from my first flight, and surprisingly so, since my first flight was so long, is every time I've been waking up, or in the first few days, I thought I was floating.
100%.
I truly thought I was floating, and I had to convince myself I wasn't. And even after 328 days in space on my previous mission, I never did the thing where you think something will float in front of you. I've done that on this return for some reason. I put a shirt in the air and it went. It actually surprised me. And so that's been the real thing, which I've welcomed, because space sleep is the best sleep ever. It's so peaceful, it's so comfortable. And to have a little bit of that after our mission was over so quickly has been really special.
Our next question.
I'll just tell a little funny thing, because I think you'll get a kick out of it. I sleep a lot better now because I don't have Reed underneath me kicking me.
Oh, come on.
We should talk about our first night of sleep on the ship, where we were about 8 feet apart in the beds in the med bay, and it felt way too far. That was not okay.
I heard Christina say, hey, can we open up these curtains and pull all the beds together? Because you guys are way too far away.
Way too far away.
Okay, our next question is from Lauren Grush with Bloomberg.
Hi, so good to talk to all of you, and congratulations on a successful mission. Obviously, from our perspective, it's a relatively smooth flight, but there were various moments where sensor readings would indicate an issue. There's also an issue with extra leaking from the valves on the helium pressure system that was brought up a few times. I'm wondering if there were any moments throughout the mission where you felt concerned from a safety standpoint, or did you feel like it was fairly smooth from your perspective?
I might be taking one. Well, I might be a bit more dramatic than some of my crewmates, so usually they do a good job of keeping the boy with a lot of hyperbole grounded. But when you look down at your display and you see 212,000 miles and the miles are increasing, I mean, that your awareness is heightened the whole time. I feel like it was, I was looking at all four of us. I was looking at myself reflecting as well every day, and I was just looking for signs of agitation or signs of stress or signs of anxiety or tension. In fact, I think one day we were in the med kit and we found some medication for that purpose. And we were like, wow, I just can't even imagine taking that. Like we were really good. We were really, really good and really supportive of each other. But you always know in the back of your head that something could go wrong. And I think that just builds a little bit of anxiety. And you're right, we did have, we had some pressure leaking through our PCA assembly, which I'm sure we'll talk more about in post-flight. We had some vent line issues on the toilet that were a little bit problematic for us on the primary vent line. And then we had a few cautions and warnings that came up from time to time. And those always get your attention. We had a smoke detector go off on the next to last day. I mean, you want to get somebody's attention really quick? Make the fire alarm go off in your spacecraft when you're still about 80,000 miles from home. And that starts off an automated sequence of shutting down the ventilation and the power system. And that was, it was tense. It wasn't scary, but it was tense for a few minutes until we got things reconfigured. But the thing that we drilled into our heads before we launched is no fast hands. Let's evaluate this machine. Let's see what the machine is telling us. Let's see what Houston is telling us. And then let's come to an integrated decision. But nothing had to happen quick. And this machine, I was talking to our program manager last night on the phone for just a minute, Howard Hugh, and there are always things we need to improve. Always. There are ways we need to do better living in space. There's a way this machine needs to be improved. But my own personal opinion, they could put the Artemis III Orion on the Space Launch System tomorrow and launch it, and the crew would be in great shape. So this vehicle really handled very well.
All right, next up, we are going to head over to the Canadian Space Agency for 2 questions.
Yeah, hi, Sarah Levitt from CBC News. Question for Jeremy. I wanted to ask about if you've had a chance to take out the garbage since your wife was griping about chores while you were away. But I have a more serious question. You spoke in your post-splashdown remarks about gratitude, joy, and love. And I know Reid had said that there hasn't been a lot that has sunk in yet, but I wondered if there were other emotions that have come to you since seeing Earth the way you did, since seeing the moon, being the 4 sets of eyes that have only ever seen the far side of the moon?
I think what I've reflected on, and Reid covered it in his opening remarks, is I've found it really refreshing to find out how people have followed the mission and been creative with the mission, and there's lots of funny stuff online, and that really resonates with me a lot. And it just reinforces something I already knew, but humans are just great people in general. We don't always do great things. We're not always in our integrity. But our default is to be good and to be good to one another. And what we saw once we've gotten back, the little bits, I haven't seen a lot yet, but I've seen a bit. And what I've seen has brought me more joy, but more hope for our future. And I just can't wait to see what we do with it next.
Okay, and we should have one more question from CSA.
Hi, my name is Elise Allard. I'm from Radio-Canada, French CBC in Montreal. I have a question for Jeremy Hansen en français. J'aimerais savoir de quelle façon cette mission-là vous a changé, à la fois psychologiquement, mais aussi physiquement, après tous les tests que vous avez passés? Est-ce que vous avez eu des changements physiques et psychologiques?
Good. Physical and psychological changes from the mission. Pour moi, les changements physiques, ce n'était pas une grande chose, même en arrivant dans l'espace et après ici sur la Terre. Et ça, c'est une bonne chose. J'étais capable de passer la mission et juste faire mon travail. Alors, c'est une bonne chose, ça. À l'autre côté, ça n'a pas vraiment changé le moyen j'ai vu le monde, nos vies, mais ça a renforcé ça beaucoup. J'ai lancé avec le point de vue que la collaboration pour l'humanité, c'est la prochaine chose qu'on doit continuer à travailler dessus. Et en vue de la Terre, de le point de vue de la Lune, ça a renforcé cet objectif pour l'humanité. Alors j'ai un nouveau désir de travailler avec le monde pour créer ça pour nous. C'est vraiment important pour nous. Et aussi, je veux ajouter, maintenant, c'est évident pour moi qu'il faut que nous prenions des grands risques pour arriver à des grands bénéfices. C'est vraiment évident pour moi. Ça vaut la peine. I was just saying, psychologically, really, sort of what I was talking about before is that it hasn't changed my worldview so much as it's reinforced just the need for us to collaborate on this planet. And like Christina said in her remarks when we got back, I mean, we really are a crew, and that really resonates with us. And you just see it. Seeing is believing.
All right, we'll take our next few questions here in the room. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is McKenna Earnhardt, and I'm with Fox 26. My question would be, Victor, I was watching you as y'all were watching the video of y'all coming back down, and I heard you say, I felt that, or I saw you say that. What were you feeling when you come from deeper in space than we've ever been to then you can see the ocean again? What did you feel? What was your body telling you?
Thank you. Great question, and I'll keep my face quiet more next time. No, the moment, well, first of all of the things. That was a very intense 13 minutes and 36 seconds. That moment was when the drogues released, and then the pilot chutes and the mains came out. In Dragon, I've experienced a similar entry, and in Dragon, the drogue chutes don't release the same way and in the same sequencing. And so I don't remember feeling, back to free fall from having drag or G on the vehicle. I think those actually are still connected to the vehicle as the main chutes come out. On that vehicle, I remember feeling the yo-yo, though, as the parachutes were breathing. I could feel that 30, 20 feet moving up and down. But when the drogues cut away, we went back to free fall, and watching that on the video felt almost the same way it felt in the video, or in the vehicle. I would tell you, I've never been base jumping, I've never been skydiving, but if you dove off a skyscraper backwards, that's what it felt like for 5 seconds. And then the mains, the pilots and the mains came out, and it was glorious.
Okay, we'll take our next question right here. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I saw Christina posted you brought some Super Bowl confetti from the Eagles up there with you. I'm just curious if anybody else brought anything sports related or something that you absolutely had to take up with you.
Yeah. Oh, from a general sense, we all do get a very small allocation. Mass allocation, and on this vehicle it's very small. So we were just trying to think of things we could take. Like I took a couple notes from friends and things that I had written down, some great quotes, and then I just, on my way out of my house, I just grabbed this bracelet, which my daughter had made for me a couple years ago. I was just like, I need something that I can just wear and take. And oddly enough, like it was the coolest thing for me to just be grounded every night when I would get my sleeping bag and I would see this thing, and it's just like it's that connection to home, to family, and to to my daughters, and that was that was an accident, and it was a hugely successful thing for me. It really helped me stay grounded on that mission. So those things can come out of nowhere. Things that were so important to you when you launch can be less important in space, and things that were just an afterthought in space can become the absolute most important thing that you can possibly take. So I think overall we did a pretty good job with that. And I've said it before, but just listening to them communicate with their families on those tiny little moments that we got to communicate with our families. We each got 2 chances to call. And for me, that's one of the most lasting impacts of this mission, was listening to your friend and crewmate go into this other world with this headset on for 15 minutes and giggle and laugh, and every one of us cried. I mean, nobody didn't get through those things without crying. And then you would take those headphones off at the end, and it was like coming back into a different universe when you would come out of that family conference, and it just reminded you how important that is right there.
Okay, we'll take one more here in the room and then head to our phone bridge.
And that's these Artemis II astronauts at the Johnson Space Center answering questions at a forum. They were discussing different things from how they are recovering to whether or not they're getting any sleep. One of the astronauts saying that during the flight, he saw many amazing things that he will never forget. And one astronaut saying that when she goes to sleep, she feels like she's floating. So she's happy to feel like she's still in space. And now, National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard says she referred the 2019 Trump impeachment whistleblower to the Justice Department for criminal investigation. Political analyst Rod Martin joins us to discuss what happens next.